Hello, this is Ada Abro with Family Union LLC, and today I have Mick Marsden's team from Compass as a guest. Mick, please say hello and introduce
Hey everyone,
yourself.
Mick Marsden with the Mick Marsden team here. How you doing today, Ida?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I brought in as a guest today because I want to see what advice you give to people looking to buy a house and, what ideas you could give them.
Wow, that's a pretty broad question, and I don't know where to start exactly, but let's start at um, what you can afford. A lot of people come to me to want to buy a home, uh, and a lot of the work I do, honestly, is more listing work than buyer work. That's what I have been good at because I'm a marketer. All right. I'm the one who creates images and things like that. But I help a lot of buyers and I help a lot of first timers. And I certainly, go out of my way for veterans like myself, veteran helping a veteran. So the first thing is you want to find out what can you afford, right? So you got to start by getting pre-approved. We used to say, pre-qualified, right? But you can't say pre-qualified anymore because most offers are in multiple bid situations. And in multiple bids, we want to find out what you want, what you can buy. And you have to have a pre-approval these days. What's the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval? It's they see the documents that back up your statements. Okay. So a pre-qual is somebody asks you how much you make, how much you owe, all that jazz, and they take your word for it. A pre-approval, well, you're backing it up with bank statements and things. So you kind of like gone through a little bit of underwriting before you even go out on a tour. Why does it help an agent? Well, it helps an agent because we can say we can fast track this closing. It's kind of like as good as cash. People always think cash is better. Well, I sold my daughter's house on cash. It was a nightmare. So it's not always the best thing. So all I can say is that you know, one size does not fit all. It's all individual. So we start there. Next step is we set up a Compass collection. A lot of people use, all these different search engines, and some people claim we got more listings than anybody else. No, you can't have more listings than anybody else because the houses for sale, the houses for sale. Now on the MLS, are there private markets now? Yeah, they're all private markets. And so what I mean by private market is that there are databases being created in the country, like Compass is private exclusive, that can't be seen from a search engine, but that is another story. We'll have to set that aside. We'll come back to that if we have time, Ida. But basically, if you're in realtor.com doesn't have anything more than what's current on the MLS, right? If they do, they're not cleaning up their database. So people sometimes call me for a house that's been sold, thinking that, it's still on the market. So you want to make sure you get somebody like us to give you a Compass collection. That's kind of an algorithm-driven search that allows the system to deliver into your email inbox the houses that you may consider. Now, we created a platform called Compass One where people don't have to even chase emails. You just go to your dashboard and whatever we found for you, there it is. And you can mark it, hey, I want to go see this one. I'm thinking about this, or no, I don't want to see this at all. And every other thing that happens in the transaction, like, as you know, like if you want to get a copy of your signed agreement, you don't have to look through emails anymore. You can go right to the Compass One platform and pull it down there because everything you need, including the timeline, is right there. So, okay, so we talk about getting qualified and using these systems. You find a house, you want to go out on a tour, then you got to go out and look at it. Like I said to you earlier before we started, I don't really sell houses. I connect people with their dreams, right? They everybody wants to buy a house. They have kind of a vision, and their kids are playing here and they're cooking out and they got their friends over and they have all this good time and stuff. So at the end of the day, we connect people with dreams, right? Because people are not buying bricks and mortar. They're buying a home, an investment, a place for a family to grow and make memories. All right. So
Yes, and I wanted to make the point that, what I noticed what differentiates Compass, and especially your teammate, is you use a drone. And I was blown away when you told me about this drone and the beautiful pictures that you took, like in the lighting and everything. Like, can you tell
yes.
me a tiny bit about your drone and everything?
Oh,
Because I
absolutely.
really like that.
Well, the reason I said in the beginning, I'm more of a listing agent than a buyer's agent. I do both, but my real power is in selling a home for somebody by creating an image. So yes, I am a commercially licensed FAA drone operator. I am not a fly by night. I have professional drones with multiple camera lenses, and we take all our outside pictures that way, because in the old days, I used to take pictures from the ground and you'd have to look up at a house, it would have these keystones you'd have to correct, so we don't have that anymore. And that's what you saw in your listing. You have all these beautiful perspectives and people can kind of see the Hartford skyline behind and see what your yard looks like, and see one of the first to use a Sony mirrorless camera. I've been taking pictures for 50 years. I'm a professional photographer. I do landscapes and, portraits and group events. But, I've kind of focused just on homes. And one of the differences in our photographs that you have already recognized is that we don't bring in an artificial light and blow out the feeling of a home. We kind of want to see the sun coming through the windows and how this is how it looks, how it feels. We want to kind of build that atmosphere in pictures. You used to hear it's curb appeal. It's curb appeal. It's not anymore. It's web appeal. You got to appeal online now. And I'm telling you right now, people are starting with the internet and finishing with the internet. And they bring in a person like us when they're really ready to make a move. Lots of times it's changed. Before, we were the only people that had the information. We had a little tiny piece of picture in the paper with some, LR for living room, FP for fireplace, because there wasn't a lot of room for the copy. We don't have that anymore. We can tell the whole story like we did for you, for instance. We have 2,400 characters to describe what it's like to be there. And we always make sure that we want to basically describe. If we're going to talk about a feature, we're going to tell you what the advantage of that feature is and how it benefits the buyer, because that's what they're buying. They're not buying the features. They're buying what it benefits them, right? So if you have, a pool in your yard, well, you don't have to leave to go to a public pool. That's the benefit, So those kinds of things.
Yes, one of the things that we aspire to show our clients is technology, and it evolves every day, right? And
Yeah.
in a home like mine, it's like I feel like I get the historical part, the very colonial feel, but also all the technology that I need, like my podcast and my social media channels. I get to meet with all my guests without
Yeah.
interruption, and all the technology coming in and being up to date. Um, so tell me a little bit more about the D's that you were talking about.
All right. Well, you're really talking about inventory levels. A lot of people ask me, why are inventory levels so thin, right? And so let's talk about one town I happen to know well. The town I live in right now is East Haddam, Connecticut. And through my career of 24 years, there has been anywhere from 70 to 85 homes for sale at any time. We are the 8th largest town in the state of Connecticut, 54 square miles, only 10,000 people. But at the end of the day, 75, 80 homes in one town seems like a reasonable average. You know how many there are today? A dozen. Think about that. A mere 12 homes in 54 square miles in one town are for sale. So when we just sold a house in town here, similar to yours, it went very quickly because there aren't a lot of plan Bs. So if you're a buyer, don't be too fussy, because you may not get a second bite at an apple here for a long time in the town you want, because inventory is so thin. And that brings us to the 60s. Why? Well, the 60s, people are only putting their house in the market because of the 6Ds. The 6Ds are diapers, diamonds, divorce, death, downsizing, or duty change, right? For veterans, duty change, you don't get to choose. Uncle Sam says, you're out of here. You're going to California. Is it a good time to sell your house? Doesn't matter. Uncle Sam wants you over there. So some maybe have to rent or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's something that forces you into the market, right? A duty change, a diaper, right? A new kid comes in. You only have one bedroom, or you need more space, right? So that's how it happens. Why aren't there other people coming in like there used to be to upgrade their homes? Well, it's simple. most of the mortgages held out there right now is under 5%. And a large portion of them have a 3 in them. It's like my mortgage is 3.5. Do you think I'm moving? Hells no. It's not paid off. So if I have to go buy another house, if I want to downsize, right? Think about this. I can have a mortgage of 3.5%. I go buy another house at 6.29, which is the rate today, and I get a smaller house at the same price. Something's wrong here. I'm not moving. That's why other people aren't moving, right? Unless you're cash, then you can go do that a little easier. But, people are paying a lot of money for houses today, and I can't believe what a house I used to sell $175,000 for, they're selling for double now, and that wasn't that many years ago. It was 175.
Wow, thank you for telling me that perspective. That I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Our technology can help people get up and over the hump here, right? We're not just a Compass, for instance, is not just a brokerage. It's a technology company. There's a $1 billion company here that's like the largest in the country that has tech that drives it. And AI is helping us like crazy. And we're tied in with Rocket Mortgage. The phone is ringing off the wall from people who are getting certified and pre-qualified at Rocket Mortgage. And they're tied into this partnership with Redfin with us, and voila, boom. And of course, as you know, if you're following the news, Compass just bought Anyhow or Anywhere, which means that we now own the Sotheby's nameplate and a few others like Century 21. We are huge. We are everywhere, and they don't take any agent. You have to be quality. So if you are in the market for a home to buy, it's really important that you pick somebody with great skills who are full-time, who can pay attention to your property, because this isn't a part-time gig. A lot of people had to take second job because, think about it. If there were 80 homes for sale before, and there's only 12 in this town, that's reflected pretty much everywhere. There's still the same number of inspectors, appraisers, lawyers, who, guess what, have to try to get a bigger slice of a smaller pie, because that's the only way to survive. And a lot of people who aren't really good at it like we are had to go back to bartending or waiting on tables altogether, or get another job or get out. There's a lot of exodus, not a lot of people coming in. It's a very tough business to get into these days because it's so hard to get listings. We used to sell, before COVID, I'm like 73 now, so I don't do this anymore, but I used to sell 50 houses a year. Well, that's a lot of work. That's a house a week to close. You have to have about 40 listings to do that. There's no possible way for me to generate that kind of listing portfolio with the lack of inventory out there, or the 6Ds driving the market. So that's how things have changed quite a bit. That's why skill, honesty is really important. And I'll tell you something else, it's really important. I have noticed that some people have kind of strained or bent their morals or ethics or character because they're starving, and may give advice to somebody that is in their best interest. We're fiduciaries, like you and I met, right? We told you what we are. We're fiduciaries. We don't make your decisions, right? We don't do that. We give you information to help you make a good decision, and we will tell you if we think you're driving the car into a wall. But it's your decision if you want to keep going and drive into the wall, because it's your deal. But we will help you, guide you along the way, and get your house sold and get it for the most money. Or if you're buying, get the best possible deal in terms in a market that's very tough to do. And you can't do that without experience. I have 625 sales in my name, that over my career. That's a lot of experience. Have I been perfect in all of them? No, but I've learned from every mistake. So that's what makes you better. You can learn or lose. We choose to learn from our mistakes. And after 24 years, I think I got a pretty good base.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring you into my podcast today, because every time I talk with you, it's like I'm blown away with all the information that I take with me and things that I learn. So thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming today, and good luck to us. And thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. We'll see you in person soon.
See you soon.
Okay.